everyone, are you ready to dive deep with me today? We're going to be tackling prayer.
Oh, wow.
But trust me, this isn't your typical Sunday school lesson or anything. You guys sent over this piece by Pedro Elias,
Right.
and let me tell you, it's got me thinking about prayer in ways I never really expected.
Yeah, Elias, he definitely has a unique way of approaching it. Instead of focusing on, all the religious doctrine, he dives into the internal experience of prayer.
Right.
That really personal experience. He calls it the sacred enclosure of our soul.
I like that. Sacred enclosure, it really brings to mind a space of refuge, of deep introspection.
Yeah.
But then, and this is where it gets really interesting,
Okay.
Elias connects this idea of personal prayer with ancient myths about gods who feed on human devotion. It's almost like spiritual vampirism, would you say?
Yeah, it is. It's a powerful comparison, if a little unsettling. He's drawing a parallel, right, between those ancient myths and the ways that we might sometimes give away our spiritual power, not to, literal deities, but to external forces like dogma, societal expectations, even charismatic figures.
So instead of nourishing our own inner connection, we're unintentionally feeding something else with our prayers.
That's exactly the question that Elias wants us to consider. And he uses this really rugged phrase, astral vampires, to describe figures throughout history who've used fear and ritual to control and manipulate others.
Okay, I am hooked. Can you unpack that a little more for us? How does that connect to prayer as this sacred enclosure we were talking about?
So Elias is arguing that when we approach prayer solely through the lens of external authorities or these really rigid rituals, we risk losing touch with that inner sanctuary.
Okay.
It's like we're constantly looking outside of ourselves for validation or direction instead of tapping into our own wellspring of wisdom and connection.
It's almost like we're outsourcing our spirituality instead of cultivating it from within.
Precisely. And that's where those astral vampires come in.
Okay.
Now, Elias isn't suggesting that there are literal entities feeding off our energy.
Right.
But he's using that as a metaphor to highlight the dangers of just blindly following external authorities without questioning their motives or the impact that has on our own spiritual development.
So how do we escape that? If we're so susceptible to those external forces, how do we reclaim that spiritual autonomy?
Well, Elias suggests a fundamental shift in perspective. So instead of viewing prayer as this structured activity dictated by external authorities, he encourages us to see it as a state of being, a way of life.
So it's less about what we do or say and more about how we're living and experiencing the world around us?
Exactly.
Yeah,
he broadens the definition of prayer beyond just words.
Okay.
Suggesting it can manifest through connecting with nature, engaging in meaningful work, or simply being fully present in each moment. It's about cultivating this sense of reverence and awe for the interconnectedness of all things.
That's a refreshing take. So many spiritual traditions emphasize this idea of finding the sacred in the everyday.
Right.
It makes me think of that Zen Buddhist concept of mindful dishwashing.
Oh, yeah.
Even something seemingly mundane can become an act of meditation and connection.
Right.
When it's approached with the right intention.
Exactly. Yeah, and it highlights the point that we don't necessarily need these elaborate ritual or intermediaries to connect with something larger than ourselves.
Right.
That connection is available to us in every moment if we just know how to tap into it.
Okay, that begs the question, how do we actually do that?
Yeah.
How do we shift from a place of external reliance to cultivating that internal connection he talks about?
Well, he uses this powerful metaphor to illustrate this process. He describes prayer as entering the temple of our own soul.
Okay.
But to truly access that space, he says we need to leave our walking sticks at the door.
I love a good metaphor. Break that one down for me.
Yeah.
What are those metaphorical walking sticks?
So think of them as anything we rely on externally.
Okay.
That might be preventing us from fully connecting with our inner truth.
Okay.
It could be dogma, rituals, the expectations of others, even our own preconceived notions about what spirituality, quote, should look like.
So it's about shedding those layers, those external supports, and meeting ourselves in our rawest, most authentic form.
Precisely. And that can be a scary proposition.
Yeah.
It's natural to cling to those walking sticks.
Yeah, sure.
To seek comfort in the familiar.
Right.
But Elias suggests that by letting go,
Okay.
by embracing that vulnerability,
Yeah.
we open ourselves up to a deeper, more profound experience of the divine.
Easier said than done right. Like letting go of those crutches, those things we think we need,
Yeah.
that can be terrifying.
Right.
What if we stumble without them?
Yeah.
What if we lose our way?
That's a valid fear.
Yeah.
But Elias is suggesting that sometimes those crutches are the very things that are preventing us from truly walking on our own 2 feet.
Okay.
From discovering that strength and resilience that we possess within.
So it's a leap of faith, trusting that we'll find our footing even without all those external supports. It makes me think of that saying.
What's that?
The only way out is through. Sometimes we have to face our fears.
Right.
Embrace the unknown to truly grow.
Exactly. It's about leaning into the discomfort.
Yeah.
Trusting that even if we stumble, even if we fall,
Right.
the very act of letting go can be a profound act of spiritual surrender.
Okay.
And in that surrender,
Yeah.
we might discover a depth of connection that we never even thought possible.
This whole conversation has been incredibly insightful.
Yeah.
We've gone way beyond a simple discussion of prayer, haven't we?
I think so. We've delved into the heart of what it means to cultivate a truly authentic spiritual life.
Right.
One that's rooted in personal experience and inner authority rather than just blindly adhering to external dictates.
And what's resonating most with me is this idea of conscious devotion. It's not just about praying. It's about being mindful of where we're directing our energy, our attention, our very essence.
Right.
Are we feeding our own inner flame?
Yeah.
Or are we inadvertently giving our power away?
That's a powerful question to consider.
Yeah.
And something we can ask ourselves in all areas of life.
Right.
Not just when it comes to spirituality.
Yeah.
Are we living in alignment with our values, our deepest truths? Or are we letting these external forces dictate our choices and dim our inner light?
Elias doesn't leave us with all the answers,
Sure.
but he does leave us with a powerful call to action, to question everything. Trust our intuition, and to cultivate a spiritual practice that nourishes our soul, not someone else's agenda.
It's about reclaiming our spiritual autonomy,
Yeah.
stepping into our power as conscious creators of our own experience.
So to our listeners, we'll leave you with this. What does conscious devotion look like for you? What walking sticks might you need to release in order to step more fully into your own sacred enclosure?
Thanks for diving deep with us today.
Yeah, thanks for listening, everyone.
Until next time, keep exploring, keep questioning.
And keep fanning that inner flame.